Hello, hello, purpose driven entrepreneurs and CEOs. Welcome back to another show here at the Life School Masterclass Show. Your host, Elona Parry, helping companies align and scale their purpose and profits. Today, I have the amazing honor to have another beautiful guest on, sharing their experience, their amazing work in the world, Rosemarie Francis. And I believe today's topic is going to be very timely and also hopefully very relevant to you wherever you are in the journey of scaling your business, but also personally, because I believe that the two are really one at the end of the day. So, we're going to talk about how regulating our mindset in times of adversity and some things that we could do to help us kind of cope with this uncertainty and some of the fast navigation that we're all experiencing, whether it's with the growth of our businesses or maybe following our purpose. So, Rosemary, first and foremost, thanks so much for coming on. And thank you ahead of time for sharing your amazing experience with us here on the show.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
It's my absolute pleasure. So, Rosemary, let's start with that. What is that one big problem that you've seen when it comes to mindset that gets in people's ways when they're trying to align with their goals, whether they're trying to align with the things that are important to them, whether that is personal or professional? Like the common theme that you've seen in your experience.
Well, the common theme is what Seth Godin refers to as the lizard brain. And I've been talking to a couple of people the last couple of days about this because we find a reason to not do what we're being tasked to do, right? So with podcasters, it's the microphone. I was talking to someone yesterday and they were saying, I have to wait to book the studio to make sure that I have all the equipment and I'm like, no, you're in a car, you have a thought in your head, grab your cell phone and record whatever that thought is, right? So that is the struggle that we all face, because we have all these reasons why we're not ready.
I love that. You mentioned that. I think that's very important. And I love that you kind of caught me doing the same thing. And through experience, you learn to tap more into your intuitive insights. I find that
Yes.
through your journey as we go through some of the things that we're going through, we learning how to trust that. It's been my life's work. And I think it's a lot of people struggle with that because of the perfectionism, right? We need to have it all
Yes.
figured out. And then we could start or we can do things and we naturally procrastinate. So
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense. What are some things that you have seen that we can do to sort of overcome that lizard brain? I mean, besides the fact that it's like three, two, one, go, just do it. And then through the journey, I mean, it's kind of been my thing to kind of just jump through some of the things that I found fearful. But based on your experience, what are some of the things that have helped you to kinda just be certain be comfortable with the uncertainty of what's gonna happen? Because I think most of us, like, are trying to control the process. That's
Yes.
it.
For me personally, I've had to use other people to guide me. Um, I have a podcast called Solo Moms Talk. It took me 6 years from idea to launch because I just couldn't get it in my head that I should just hit publish. And it wasn't until after I went to a Tony Robbins event, on Unleash the Power Within, that I came home and I was just ready and I launched, right? So I think most of us, if not just some of us, need that push, need that motivation, if you will, to convince us that you can do this and you don't have to be perfect at first. And that's why I'm a firm believer in mentorship or coaching.
Mm.
Yeah.
So true. I've attended Tony's events twice, the Unleash the Power Within, virtual and live. Definitely live, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
gives you a bigger transformation. At least that was my
Mm-hmm.
experience. But yeah,
Yes.
there's something about unblocking ourselves and just taking action and just closing our eyes and going with it,
Yeah.
especially if you feel pulled to be able to do that. Because just like you mentioned, I have my own experiences of something taking me years because I was trying to also figure out Like, I gotta have all the right steps in order before I can start. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
very relevant, to also lots of people with kinda energetically now, a lot of people are also feeling like out of it, out of sorts.
Yes.
I think it's definitely, something to even to just remind ourselves that if it's something is pulling us to be able to go for that as well.
Yeah.
Something else, Rosemary, that I've learned in my journey is timing. How have you explored, I guess, in your own personal journey, when is the right timing? Or is there such thing as the right time to be able to listen to some of those insights that we have, or ideas, or goals, or dreams? Should we be jumping into things right away, or is there such a thing as kind of trying to time things where we could take that first action? Like, what are your thoughts around timing overall?
So my thoughts around this is kind of twofold because I am both analytic and creative. I have an entrepreneurial mind and I have a creative mind. And so as an entrepreneur, I just want to do it. You know,
Mhm.
Les Brown said, jump and grow wings on the way down. I I'm a firm believer in that. Even if sometimes I get away with 6 years of not starting, right? So I think it depends on who you are, but my preference would be sans the lizard brain. Just do it. Just get on it. Just start it. Just grow, jump and grow wings on the way down. I just, like I said, I have a very conflicting because I have these two strengths. And so, but my first advice would be just start and get the help you need along the way.
Yeah, I think most people, I mean, depend, right? Congrats to you because you've developed both. I mean, I think you have to develop both because we both have them, but obviously one
Yeah.
is more dominant, and the same with me, that my logical is more dominant, which is a challenge when you're trying to pace some of the timing with things. But I love that you said that, because especially when something is new and you don't have the experience yet of what
Right.
the process will look like, just jump into it, and then through there you learn from the school of life. You learn
Yes.
from your experience. What are
Yes.
the lessons, what are the things that worked, what didn't work, because every time you jump into something you will definitely learn something. So having that
Yes.
mindset of learning, curiosity, following that definitely
Yes.
helps you overcome some of that fear to kind of just go ahead and into something.
Yeah.
um I know from your background you've also, love podcasting, and we're podcasting here today, and podcasting is definitely a great channel to do many things in our business, to share our messages, to support others, to serve others, to meet people, to grow our brand, all those things which are important to most entrepreneurs and CEOs as well. What have you learned as far as what has worked that's been successful for you in you growing your shows and podcasting in general that you could share with us as well?
Well, well, I think one of the biggest lesson is that you can't do podcasting like everybody else do podcasting. You have to do podcasting how it fits you and your audience. You know,
Mm.
when I first started mentoring, a lot of people were talking about wanting to be like Joe Rogan and they're pushing for 1 million downloads, but the message is lost, right?
Mm.
And that's the biggest thing I've learned is that you are the product in your podcast. You are who your audience want to hear. Because whether you're talking about business or a book or a story, there are other people who can talk about those things. But your audience want to hear from you. Pat Flynn says if you have 100 people in a room talking to, if you only have 100 listeners to your podcast, that's 100 people in a room whose attention you have. So that's the biggest lesson for me.
Mm. I love it. It's authenticity, right? Being
Yes.
authentic and not not to be afraid to use your voice for kind of what our voice is really meant to be used for, to
Yes.
share our experiences, which is why over the years, I think that comes definitely with experience when you get clarity on what your voice is and what makes you different and what is
Mm-hmm.
gets you convicted about things. Because obviously, the natural inclination is to just go and do what everybody else is doing, but you just gonna go fit with that noise, just like anything we do. But especially in the service space, we are the product. So people just want to hear about how you think about different things, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
nowadays we can just go Google like how to start a podcast, how to do
Yeah.
this or how to do that, any topic that we're interested in. But at the end of the day, we are human beings, social beings. So we like to hear from human experiences
Yes.
overall. So I love that you shared that with anything we do. I think it's really important, not just podcasting, with anything we do, to not be afraid to share things based on our perspective as well. It's become even more important nowadays for sure.
Right.
Um, Rosemary, let's get a little bit. I love to always kind of just understand the most impactful steps in my guest journeys that were impactful for them to get them to the work that they're doing in the world. What are some of the things that have happened that have led you to the work that you do today?
Hmm. So this is gonna get personal. So I was a divorced mom living in Atlanta, struggling to raise two young boys. And at the height of the financial crisis, I got my real estate license and decided I was going to be a realtor. But of course, as 9 months in, after making my first four sales, the market just crashed. So I got an idea. I believed I was divinely led to move to New York City. And I moved to New York City to accept a 2 week job. I packed my kids into our Toyota Camry and drove to New York City, not knowing where we were going to live. And that journey lasted about 14 years at the same job that was only for 2 weeks. And it led me to learning how to serve others. And the first group of people I wanted to serve were moms who were raising children alone, because that's who I was. And that led me to loving how podcasting works, how it relates to creating your own story and connecting with other people's story. So that's what led me to getting here.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, for you, that was a pivoting moment, right?
Yes.
The divorce and then moving to NYC, no security, no nothing. It's like in the dark. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever happens there. But I have also found that a lot of times our calling stems from our challenges or our pain more
Yes.
than our passions,
Yes.
because we're usually told otherwise. And that has led you to kind of puzzle piece yourself in all those steps to be able to
Yeah.
now be in service towards others. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
How is it that you specifically help others today or serve others today?
So, practically, I help podcasters only because they come to me for help, and I realize that I can do it, and I know and understand the mindset. So, I help podcasters connect with their story, connect on their genius, so to speak. So, if you want to start a podcast, or you've started but you're struggling, I can help you with that, with, just bridging that 2 millimeter gap. I'm not about the whole story. I'm just about where you are right now. Because 90% of podcasters fail before they reach 10 episodes. And so I want to help those 90% who really want to do it, but just struggling with one thing. The other thing I do is, because I have this experience as a solo mom, and because I've built this brand around Solo Moms Talk, my podcast, I also mentor solo moms, and I do that. So the basis of my help is mentorship, helping people shift their mindset so they could meet their goal. They could reach their
Mm.
goals. Yeah.
I love the work you do and the fact that you also like meet them where they are and you customize it because sometimes it's that missing one thing that could be
Yes.
having them procrastinate this for years.
Yes.
It's crazy, right? When you go back
Yes.
and look at like the one thing. But
Yes.
again, it's not just the technical stuff, it's also a lot of other stuff that's holding people back. So I
Yeah.
love that you do that. I love your mission with helping solo moms. Now, I we definitely have solo moms in the audience as well, very ambitious, successful entrepreneurs. What are some of the things that you have learned, or maybe pillars, or advice, or mentorship, fundamentals, so to speak, that you share with them, or maybe that you've also learned in your own journey that you could share with any solo moms listening today as well?
So one of the thing is that is what I've touched on before is that I have a framework called She. It's shift, heal, empower. And what it is, you have to shift your mindset from what you think you know, from what you've been taught, from what you've been told. You have to shift, you have to do a total shift from what you think you know and believe, right? And then you have to seek healing if you need it. Healing, forgiveness, forgive yourself, forgive others, right? And in doing this, doing self reflection and learning who you are as a person, not as a mom, not as a wife, but as a person, you can empower yourself to achieve your goals, follow your dream, and just be you.
Yeah. Learning who we are as women, I think is really important. And at the
Yes.
core of it, that's the most transformative work because I know how easy it is to identify with the things that we got to do, the parenting or the responsibilities or the jobs or the business
Yes.
or everything else around us. So I love that you have your framework, which you probably put a lot of women through with that sort of with that transformation, which at the end of the day it goes back to you. And I find that that can never be taken away from us, right? Anything can
No.
happen, but once you discover who you are, and then the process always, is to unravel more stuff so that you
Mm-hmm.
stay at that core. I don't think it's a one time done exercise, but
No.
once you tap into it, then you have that knowledge and awareness that you can tap into it more and make it a practice to do this every day because it's not like
Yes.
something we do, and then we're done. One of the things that I always got frustrated with personal development, or I guess it was my impatient as like a overachiever, always like, well, I thought I already finished this work. Like, I have to go back and deal with some of the stuff that we talked about, especially the healing part of your framework,
Mm-hmm.
which is a ongoing process for sure. There's always something to heal, so that we can feel whole. At the end of the day, that's the missing link for lots of people. We always think that we're not good enough, and we're finding, you know, happiness, trying to find it in all the wrong places,
Yeah.
um, and realizing it's all within us. It's really powerful as well.
Right.
Um, Rosemary, thank you so much for what you just shared with us today. Beautiful conversation, beautiful experience. And also, I could tell that you're doing it with poise and grace and also with a calmness, which I think is really important in today's environment where
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you turn your head, there's distraction and people are just have more choices but more overwhelmed. Like the
Yes.
more has not helped. So I think it's really important to find people that help you through some of those pieces because we can see our own blind spots for sure. Podcasting and also through life journey, so to speak, as
Yes.
well. I would like to ask you now for a final message. If you'd like to leave your audience with anything, it could be anything related to your work or anything in general that you've learned. And also, where is it that we just started this conversation? Where is it that the audience can further connect with you?
Yes, the only thing I would like to say is that I firmly believe in self-reflection, realizing, recognizing, and discovering who you are as a person, what you were put on earth to do. Because once you recognize who you are, nobody can tell you who you are. Because a lot of the hurt that we feel is because somebody told us you're no good, you're this, you're that, all these negative thoughts. And once you discover who you truly are, nobody can convince you you're something else. And I'd like to leave you with that. And you could find more. my thoughts on Solomon's Talk or at jrosemarie.com.
All right, beautiful. I definitely encourage everybody to at least start the conversations because one of the things we value here is connection and meaningful relationships. So to get connected on social and also on the Linktree link that Rosemary has sent with you and look for ways to support one another. Rosemary, thank you so much for the amazing work that you're doing out there in service towards others and for your time and everything you shared with us today.
Thank you, Elona. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you again. And I want to thank you for always watching, supporting the show. Don't forget to subscribe, review, and share. Thanks so much. And I'll see you next time with another beautiful guest and conversation. Bye, everybody. Are you experiencing these two main gaps in your company and your business? Inconsistent cash flow and clients, and also scalability issues. Maybe you've reached your maximum capacity with your current business model and the way that you're operating your business now, and you are really experiencing burnout and no time freedom in your business, but you're not sure what to do to be able to scale your company to the next level so that your company also becomes an independent asset outside of you so that it can become an asset if maybe later you would like to sell your company or build a legacy company that really does more good in the world. For my dear podcast listeners, I'm offering a free 30-minute discovery call where I will intentively listen to what is it that you've built in your company thus far and then offer my insight around some of the gaps that I can hear from the main gaps that we talked about at the beginning of this conversation that you might be experiencing. And I would love to offer some insight around my experience on what might some of those gaps be and ways to further support you in the future of the scaling of your purpose and profit so that absolutely you can do more good in the world and your company can be independent of its founder and owner and become an asset that also creates amazing momentum out there in the world. For a limited time, I would love to offer my 30-minute time on my calendar for a free discovery call. You can just grab a time on the QSR code right here on the left-hand side of the screen and grab a time so we can further connect. Again, thank you so much for being loyal listeners to the podcast and also for always supporting the show. I'll see you with another episode and another amazing conversation.